All right, let's talk about the Bills versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals coming into this game were almost an afterthought, right? A lot of people were already planning the Bills and Chiefs rematch. Tickets were being sold to the neutral site stadium.
You better send those refunds.
But the Bengals said, no, not so fast, my friend. In this game, I think that the Bengals had complete control from the first drive all the way to the end of the game. Look, it seems like the Bills they're trying to play catch up a little bit, which is weird because a lot of the questions people had and the doubts people had going into this game were on the Bengals, right? They were questioning whether or not they could hold up, right? The O-line could hold up, whether or not, Joey Burrow was going to have enough time in the pocket, right? Those were the questions I heard from a lot of the analysts playing and the defense, whether they could withstand the high-powered offense from the Bills with all the weapons they have. And they talked about the weather, right, being a factor against the Bengals and how the Bills were used to playing in the cold and all that, right? Because they're up in Buffalo, that's their home field. They know the weather there. Not that Ohio or not that Cincinnati doesn't go through those things, but like it's Bills, their home and everything like that. But the game was a complete 180 from a lot of people's expectations, I think, including mine too. Look, I think first and foremost, I just want to touch on how good Joey Burrow was. How much confidence he brings to the team and the organization as a whole. Being a big Brady fan myself, I think you see a lot of the characteristics and the confidence, at least, too, right? He brings such a strong presence to the team, and I think a level of trust with receivers, right? What I liked a lot about his game, and especially in this game too, was a lot of the throws he was making, and just the accuracy, the quickness, and the efficiency of his throws, right? Those were really impressive, and I want to talk about quarterbacks this weekend, and I'll get into that. But if we're talking quarterback play and if you want to grade them, I guess on a scale here, I think maybe sorry, but I think Dak Prescott might be on the lower end of that spectrum, and then I'd say Joey Burrow is on the top next to Mahomes before Mahomes got injured there. But Joe Burrow has been playing unbelievable. The confidence he has, the swagger, the moxie, everyone's saying, especially that clip, if he's throwing the warm-up, he just throws the ball and he kind of spins around. It was just like, at that point, I think everyone's thinking, like, this guy's going to win. Like, there's no way. How is this guy not, unbelievably just... He's just unbelievable. He's talented. Like, how is he not going to win, right? I think that was, people saw that was a big thought there. But it was a great game by him. The rest of the team played well. Another big factor for me for the Bengals was the defense, right? Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, man, he schemed this game so perfectly, right? They had Stephon Diggs to under 40 yards. They held Davis under 40 yards, Singletary under 40 yards, Isaiah McKenzie under 40 yards, right? The run game was barely existent, I kind of think, except, even for Josh Allen, right? Singletary, these guys in weeks past, Cook, right? They were highlights of the offensive run against a defense, especially I think when I look back at the Lions game they played, that high scoring game. I think that the Bills, I'm not sure really what the offensive scheme that they really had in this game. It seems like past couple weeks they were kind of here and there with just their offensive production in terms of just like, could you see a scheme really showing with their play, right? You look at game against the Dolphins. It looks like they go out there, and I listened to the GM Shuffle pod with Michael Lombardi, and he makes a good point with like him and Femi. He makes a good point of how like the Bills sometimes, or a lot of times, and I'm paraphrasing, but they seem to go out there and just say, here, Josh Allen, you make a play, right? And it's like, as opposed to really having a certain scheme and a plan for how they want to attack a certain game against certain teams and everything like that. But, and to the credit of Josh Allen, right? He's able to find receivers like Diggs, McKenzie, and in a lot of the games, they've had a lot of success this year. But again, in terms of an actual scheme where they're purposely trying to get certain players the ball on certain looks that the defense might be showing them or whatever, I'm not so sure we saw that this game. It definitely hurt them when they're trying to play catch up against a Bengals team who, look, like based on every possession, it seemed like they had a chance to score, right? I don't think there was a point in this game when the Bengals had the ball that I felt like that they were on their heels. I didn't see it. It seemed like anytime they had the ball, they could have made it into the end zone, right? We even saw Stephon Diggs at the end of the game get frustrated with Josh Allen, kind of yelling at him a little bit, and people get heated, and that's how the game goes, and teams that have success have a standard, right? So I think I didn't have a problem with it, really. I mean, you see so many times, Peyton getting angry at Jeff Saturday, Brady getting mad at Bill O'Brien, Rodgers throwing the tablet. I mean, guys who are competitive will get upset. But like that the offense is going to get frustrated when a large portion of the plan or the so-called scheme there is to rely on Josh Allen to dial up plays, But like even you could talk about the snow being a factor, right? But the Bengals were there too, right? So the snow could have been a factor for both teams, especially on the O-line for the Bengals, but it didn't really affect them in terms of production on the offensive side. I think this game poses a lot of questions for the Bills moving forward. You look over the past 3 years and they've had really, really good teams and high expectations, but they seem to just not be able to get it really far into the playoffs, right? So if you're management now and you're looking at this team and you're thinking, what's got to happen? What adjustment do you need? What retooling do you need? Do you try to move some major pieces around? Do you tweak some things here and there? I mean, like, for sure they were missing Von Miller, right? Who's a massive piece that clearly hurt them. He's not out there making plays, and that's tough for them to kind of deal with that without having him there. They were able to stop the Bengals. I think if they were able to have Von Miller, they would have stopped the Bengals in a bunch of drives. At least that was the hope and that was the plan. But the reality is, like, if you look at the offensive side, Bills still only put up 10 points, right? So for all that talk about their offense and being dominant and how they can kind of go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, everyone was already planning Mahomes and Allen. They didn't have an answer against, the defense, right? They just didn't have one. And like, I think if you look at the games leading up to this, you might have been able to sense that there was a little bit of a struggle with their offensive side. Not in the sense that they couldn't really win games, but just that the way they were winning games wasn't as like definitive and dominant as you would expect. And look, I think we all have respect for Ken Dorsey. He's done a great job this year. I think I'm just talking about in this particular game with the Bengals, the Bills fell really short of expectations. And I'd say on both sides of the ball, they kind of fell short of expectations there, And for the Bengals, though, like, I'm really excited to see how they play against the Kansas City Chiefs, with a hurt Mahomes, kind of. I guess we don't know at this point. But I think at this point, Joey Burrow is, 4-0 against the Chiefs. Bengals seem to have their number. And with how they played this game, with that confidence, that moxie, their defense looking really good. I think the big story for the next game is how the Bengals can stop Travis Kelce. We'll see how Mahomes is. I mean, right now, again, he's not really in a brace. He's been able to join the practices. He looks like he's really mobile, but I don't know how it's going to affect his mobility in the pocket. If he's not be able to move around, he stays in the pocket. That's probably one thing that the Bengals are going to have to worry about. They're going to have to watch out for Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, those guys. Those guys are big factors for the Chiefs there. And while this game with the Bills, the Bengals were able to stop the run game, I think it's a very different story with the Chiefs. They're very well coached. Should be interesting to watch. Let me know what you guys think about the upcoming game with the Bengals and the Chiefs in the comments. And if there's anything else you guys want to share, let me know.